plan was never for my Formbot Voron V0 to stay stock for very long, but I didn't expect to modify it this soon either. But after I accidentally broke the tensioning mechanism on one of the AB motors, I had to either reprint that part or just switch over to the tulip mod that I had already printed and was already planning on modifying the printer to use. So I decided to commit to the tulip mod, and I would reprint and adjust anything in the future as needed. I started out by only switching one of the motor mounts to the tulip mod, which is why here you'll see me only doing the other motor mount. This is the original side. From the perspective of the camera, it's the left-hand side motor mount. I used Fushi bearings for everything. I used some 30 millimeter M3 dowel pins to mount those bearings onto. I used the stock motors that came with my Formbot kit, so I'm still using the Moons motors that came with that. The belt I did replace just because I personally find it really difficult to mount a Voron V0 belt, so it's easier to get a longer belt and then cut it. The problem with that is that then remounting that same belt is super difficult. So I ended up just grabbing a new 2-meter long belt that I had ordered and using that. So here we're starting to mount the other side of the tulip mod. Here I have the base and mid plate stacked together. I find it easier to just mount them both at the same time. Here we have some M3 drop nuts that we have to line up, which are always a pain. And getting the bearing stacks to sit correctly in these printed parts was super, super difficult. But eventually I did manage to force them in. I definitely used more force than I would have liked or expected for something like this, but it's in and it has been working well, so I am not gonna question it too much. But yeah. Next up, I'm going to be swapping this out for the Live Idler version of the Tulip mod, which basically adds a toothed idler to the XY joint on the Voron V0 using an interesting bearing arrangement, which I will show when I assemble. But that's going to be a little bit later down the line, and I'm also going to be disassembling the printer more so that I can add some more drop nuts for the Nevermore to mount and some other components. But it's up and running.